Right, deployment and management services. Normally when you deploy, you are doing quite a number of things. It's more like when you have a service, it's like software that you need to install and make it available to users. That's what deployment really means. So deployment and then management aspect relates to once it's deployed, you need to keep it running effectively. Also know what's going on. You need to collect information on what's going on, how is it performing, and so on and so on. So deployment and management services are basically cloud services that allow you to easily deploy and manage applications in the cloud. So they allow automatic handling of deployment tasks. Examples, of course, of such tasks include capacity provisioning, also load balancing, auto scaling, application and health monitoring. Right, the diagram on the right is a summary of cloud service management. In terms of, this is divided into 3 types, and of course cloud consumers interact with cloud service management and also cloud brokers. The types are business support, provisioning and configuration, portability and interoperability. Right, when you look at business support, you are looking at basically customer management, contract management, things like inventory, accounts and billing, reporting and auditing, and pricing. Then when you look at provisioning and configuration, of course you want speed in doing this. It's cloud, it's on demand, and also resource changes, also monitoring and reporting is involved. Sometimes there's metering, of course, metering based on certain important parameters. Then a service level agreement, which we have already discussed. So this relates to provisioning. On portability and interoperability, we normally have data portability. In other words, your data must be in a format that can be that is accessible on different platforms or even different clouds. Copying data to and from, bulk data transfer, things like service interoperability. In other words, if you have 2 services that are capable of interacting, they need to be able to be interoperable, especially in terms of the data. They should understand the data that they are communicating with. A unified management interface, also system portability. When you look at virtual machines, you are also allowed to migrate them. For instance, from Google, you could move your virtual machine to Amazon Cloud. So things like virtual machine image migration, then application service migration as well. So that's a good summary of the cloud management aspect. Right, now identity and access management is very important. It's a very important type of service that most clouds provide. The focus for the identity and cloud management service is to apply fine-grained provisioning to resources and users. So it allows to manage authentication, authorization of users, to allow them to access the cloud resources. Of course, this is useful for organizations that have multiple users who need access to the cloud-based assets of the organization. One can identify users. You can manage the user identifiers, user permissions, security credentials, and access keys. Right, with this we come to the end of this short topic. Notice that this topic is also covered in Amazon's material as well. So they will cover this topic, and this will provide you with a video and an overview of what types of services are available on the Amazon cloud. So it is important to read this short to go through this short topic together with the material, relevant material on the same topic on AWS Academy. So we've covered cloud reference model, cloud services, and also various types of services. At least we went through 6 of these: storage, database, application, content delivery, analytics, deployment and management services. So and finally we looked at identity and access management. Right, in terms of the tutorial is really designed to help you to understand deeper the cloud, what we call cloud services. You are to select a cloud computing platform to research on, and it could be Amazon's AWS cloud, or Google Cloud, or IBM's cloud as well. Then of course you should summarize your findings in a set of PowerPoint slides, and also bring them to the tutorial session if you can. Then submit your PowerPoint slides by sending them to the class discussion forum, and ask members of the class to comment, to make suggestions, and generally to discuss. Of course, in this lecture I deliberately avoided giving examples on a particular vendor. I just discussed things in general. So in this tutorial you are going to look more specifically at each particular, and see how that service is provided, especially the service you have selected, how it is provided. So you will cover the various platforms provided by some of these companies. I have selected anyway the big companies. So if you take, for instance, computer services, you may want to research on how Amazon, the features of that service in Amazon, in Google, and in Azure, and compare the two, and also decide which one is the best. The same with database services. So ideally you should select one, because you should then research it across a number of cloud providers. Right, this, remember that the practical need might actually be associated with some of the things we mentioned, but maybe not necessarily all, and all practicals are in the AWS Academy learning system based on Canvas. So watch the videos and make sure you then do the lab. I think this week we may be able to, you may want to look at the lab as you look at it. Chances are that Amazon always start with security, because it's important to everything else you do on the cloud. So the security aspects might be important. Right, with that we come to the end of this topic.